A well-behaved woman is trim and proper. Chores always done, not a hair out of place. When the husband comes home, she greets him with a smile.
I'm sorry, what the fuck?
Are you tired of Hitler?
I feel no shame.
Okay, one liar as a kid can find another liar.
I want that stricken from the record.
How else is she gonna learn if she doesn't have a feather?
I can butt fuck in the big house.
You're a mess, girl.
I am here to audition for Babysitters Club extras. I brought my own hammer.
All right, this is gonna be a little bit of a looser fit episode.
Sweet.
I don't have a script. I got notes.
Oh, right.
And pictures.
I like it.
Because last night when I was supposed to be writing my script, my boyfriend took a header.
He got
into an
bonked.
alligator.
He gave himself a gash.
He got bonked real good. Yeah, he wasn't good enough with mine. So. And then I had to put my fingers in his gash all night.
Oh,
Wow. Well, if we had any sponsors, we don't anymore.
Can you imagine? Fingering his gash.
His head gash, no less.
Anyway, alright, do you want to do an intro?
I will. Welcome back to another episode of Well-Behaved Women. This week we are without Hannah. She's in Italy doing fancy bitch things. Mm-hmm. So, as always, with a bit of a twist, we have our host, Lauren. Me, B. Wow, that was a little bit...
Me, B.
Yeah, it was nice.
Me, B.
The big guy. And our lovely Annika, who jumps in from time to time. And Lauren's going to teach us, just as always, about these bad bitches of old or not so old.
Are you giggling because you know what's coming?
I just liked the old or not so old.
I like it.
And because I know it's coming.
Old broads and...
Wait, it's recorded
I
somewhere.
don't remember. It's some... We have a bunch of, like,
Taglines.
side ones. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Just an ongoing list of, like, witty lines.
Someday someone will compile all of them.
I love
One of
it.
our 5
A super
listeners.
fan, yeah. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's been there since day one. Somebody will have to definitely keep an eye out for stalking later.
When we finally get our Patreon, this will be the one person that gives us, like, $50 a month.
Yeah, we got to come up with, like, a whole system.
Anyway,
Stickers! I don't know. Alright,
All of
so
it.
this week is going to be a little bit different. We are kind of going to do, like, a little mini-sode. And instead of doing focus on one woman, it's going to be on a topic. The topic today...
I'm ready for women's rights. Hit me with it.
Uteruses!
uteruses before Duderuses.
Fuck yes!
I love the uteri.
The uteri. So we uteruses are going to teach the Duderus about the uterus, and it's going to be a little bit. I would like this to be kind of expand into like maybe a continual mini series where we'll go a little more into depth in certain things.
Talking about women's
It'll
biology.
talk about women's biology, talk about women's rights, all that stuff. But today we're going to kind of go into like the form, the history, and just some basic like mechanics.
I was
Mechanics.
going to say, if we're going to do that, we should definitely have like a scientist or doctor
Yeah.
on that is smarter than this idiot.
For sure. But we don't have that kind of fame, and I don't know any doctors.
All right,
so
Dr. Drew, I'm calling you out now.
fuck off.
What? Dr. Drew's great.
I have a Bachelor of Science
There you go. Scientist.
There you go.
in psychology.
Scientist.
All right. Again, a lot of this is going to be like just literally taken from my notes, so I'm gonna pause here and there and everywhere.
Sweet.
Here, there, everywhere.
Yep.
Is that a rocket book?
It is a rocket book.
Nice.
I fucking love it.
I-
I go through the ink so quickly.
Had one when I was like doing active casework stuff, and that was so nice.
It's really a lifesaver.
Scan it right into my computer. Amazing.
Perfect. Yep.
Not sponsored by Rocketbook, but would recommend to a friend.
Send us free shit.
If we get big, we'll fucking sponsor us. Yeah, for sure.
You gotta manifest it.
All right, so I'm gonna start a little bit with we're gonna talk about menstruation because that was the first thing.
Ah, yes, the main function of the uterus.
Before we figured out what a uterus was or a womb was, there was the mythology and there was the belief system about the monthly.
Yeah, keep your bloody vaginas away from me, you witches.
No.
I told Hannah about what I was doing, and I told her that my goal today was to make you go, ugh!
You know, I don't think you're gonna hit me with that.
That's what I told her. I was like, I don't know. He's got a pretty strong tummy in that sense,
Okay.
but not in the other sense.
I don't really get heaved in that way.
Alright. Okay.
We talk
I guess
about
I'm
a lot
just
of gross
mature.
stuff.
Yeah.
Which is fair. I like that.
I'm not a fucking child.
I appreciate it.
Me too.
Alright. So, when Adam and Eve got kicked out of the Garden of Eden,
Oh, we're going back to like fake shit. Let's go.
when Adam and Eve got kicked out of the Garden of Eden because Eve ate a fucking apple,
Yeah, that bitch. She ruined it for all of us.
she forever named women as whores and sinners. And forever after, women as a species and as a gender were cursed with menstruation.
Ah,
Menstruation.
punishment.
Menstruation!
Menstruation is your
What the
punishment.
Bible says.
You know, actually, in Mormon Bible, they said that there was a whole... They like to talk about how it was a conversation between the two of them. They must have taken the time and really, like, consulted with each other before Eve made the decision.
Balls.
Oh, so
To-
her
I'm sure.
beloved husband advised her better, and she chose to disobey him. Is what I'm hearing.
Basically, she kind of talked to him about it, and she was like, hey, I'm going to do this thing, but it means that this is going to happen. And he's like, okay, cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying, he was like,
Apparently,
no,
Adam
let
was
me
very
do
supportive
it.
of his partner, and, yeah.
That doesn't sound like a Mormon husband to
It does
me.
not sound like a Mormon husband, because...
Let you do the work? Heard.
Well.
That sounds like a
Yep.
Mormon husband. There we are.
Oh, yeah, no. Oh, gosh. Loved learning as a little kid that I had to suffer with the pain of menstruation and childbirth for all eternity because of some shit that some bitch did in a garden.
Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah, no, she's
There it
not.
is.
She's not your friend, ladies.
Yeah. Eve is not your friend. We shouldn't
is
be
the
worshipping
Bible.
her because
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
she fucked us all over.
If you believe in that sort of thing, anyway.
So, we're gonna go into some ancient...
Wait, dogs get periods too. Does that go the same for dogs? Is there a dog Bible that Dog Eve got her period too?
I doubt at the time of the writing of the Bible and the scriptures that everyone was aware of the ovarian cycles of dogs and horses and like I think they all knew that it happened, but I don't think that they understood quite exactly how closely they were related. But I'm also making a wild assumption because I was not in fact existent
What?
at that point in time.
Oh my god.
Nor were you a sentient dog.
Despite how old I look, I was not a sentient dog at the time of Adam and
She
Eve.
wasn't even there.
I got nothing.
Why are we listening to her?
I'm not an expert. I'm sorry.
What do you even know?
Nothing. Okay, I have notes
That's what we're getting at.
because I
Alas,
barely
the
wrote
veil
a
comes
script.
off!
Normally, I have a whole script written out. Last night there was some emergencies, so I have notes in a notebook, and we're going from that.
We're doing it.
Curtain's been pulled back.
Yep. Roman philosopher Pliny the Elder would say that if menstruating women were to strip naked and walk through a field, the bugs would fall off the crops, and she'd scare away storms, hail, lightning, and whirlwinds.
Oh, the bears can smell the menstruation.
Listen,
Touching.
fuck women's rights and equality. You had more power then. Listen to how scared those men were of those women then.
Bugs, let's see, we did the bugs. Touching a menstruating woman, or the touch of a menstruating woman, could dull a razor, would turn linen black,
So funny.
and would sour wine.
Not the wine.
But also,
The wine!
why are you menstruating into the wine?
No. It's already red.
Just to the touch.
It's
How did it get in there? Don't do that.
Oh god.
Hypatia of Alexandria one day was being courted by someone that she was absolutely not interested in and had zero interest in ever pursuing.
We've all been there.
The guy wouldn't leave her alone, so she reached under her dress and grabbed her bloody rag and threw it at him.
Yes!
And told him that was all he wanted.
She should have cast a spell on him.
He was disgusted and he ran away.
Good.
So she left her in peace. She was like, all right, finally.
She
So
figured
back
out...
in peace and quiet.
She figured out the secret.
She really should have cursed him. He would have killed himself.
Hebrews thought that women on their periods were unclean. You had to basically, like, obviously you couldn't fuck for a few days. Yeah. And then I think it was like 3 days after your period, you had to take a very special bath in like a very special bathtub. Like Orthodox Jews still do this. It's crazy.
Puritans are really something, aren't they?
It's crazy, yeah. To this day, some Orthodox churches in Eastern Europe where there's a bunch of women that refrain from taking sacraments and stuff while menstruating because they're dirty. They're very, very, very dirty.
Dirty.
They're dirty.
Well, anything that isn't exactly what a white man does is just wrong, so makes sense.
Yep. Cherokees thought that menstrual blood was a source of great power. And it gave women strength to destroy their enemies.
I'm with it.
Indigenous beliefs just are so much better.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ancient myths about drinking period blood. There's also like whether
I'll pass,
it gives
but I'll hear you out.
Yeah, like it is known to give you great powers. It can also be like the dirtiest thing ever and will kill a man. Mm-hmm. So
poison.
There's a lot of different myths, a lot of different ways. I think it's just which influential dude was disgusted by which thing.
But like,
which dickhead wrote it down?
Either way, exactly. So much power.
You what?
So much power.
Yeah. So much power. When menstruating, a lot of women would be relegated to like their own areas. There's some mythology about like their own tents and stuff, but in reality there's legit tents and huts and houses, and even in Pakistani there's a whole like building that's like the biggest building in the community, and women who are on their time of the month, they'll bring their fucking kids there. They'll go and be pregnant there and give birth there. It's like a whole women's area.
If you're going to do something yucky, do it over there.
Do it over there.
Do it over there. We don't want to see any bodily functions out here in the world.
Fluids.
Yep.
No fluids, no functions. Keep it to yourselves.
A lot of these cultures, many, many different cultures around the world have, again, like I said, the huts and the tents and stuff, and they would be basically, women would be relegated to living there anywhere between 5 and 14 days.
Yeah, exile.
Exile. And there was inevitably some sort of cleansing afterwards. In India, there would be women that you'd have to, like, go and take the special bath, and then immediately, once you were clean, like, come over and fuck your husband. Because that was when you were
what it's all
most
about,
pregnant.
Right?
Yep.
Nothing sexier than a schedule. Woo!
Mm-hmm. Scheduled fun time. The best.
Yeah.
Bloodletting was pretty common, and menstrual blood was seen as highly contaminated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
by vaginas.
By vaginas. Women would die in these tents every year.
I just love that the theory here is simultaneously that it is the source of all life, but also a poisonous death trap.
Yeah.
That's women.
There's a whole thing about the moon. So the cycle. Oh, that's because it's on a different page.
All right, we're getting into zodiac shit now.
I'm doing great. These are other notes for other episodes.
Whoa. Copious amounts of notes.
Dude, you have no idea.
No, I have an idea. I'm looking right at it.
Thanks.
All right. Oh, in 1850 BC, Egyptian texts show family planning, like they would know when to schedule things. Mm-hmm. The word menstruation comes from the Latin mensis, which is the month, and Greek.
Is there a way to like hold this while I sneeze, or do I just send it?
Just sneeze away from it.
Well, now you have to sneeze and send it that way. 3, 2, 1.
It's
go.
gone now.
Yep.
Yep.
I know.
Yeah,
Because we
sneeze away from
brought
it.
attention to it, yeah.
Wouldn't be the
Pull
first
the
time.
Office where you're all sneezing in Dwight's face.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time somebody sneezed in my mouth.
All right. Beginning to learn a little bit of your bedroom life here.
No, anybody
He's
who's
just been around a lot of kids.
There it is. I'm starting to understand.
And same, I
Uh-huh.
had so many children just look right at me and go,
Uh-huh.
and I'm
Yep.
like,
Or cough.
Oh, yeah.
into your mouth. Tell secrets into your mouth. Whatever.
I was a teacher's aide for a special needs pre-K, and that teacher, I swear to God, was absent half the year because she was constantly getting sick.
Yeah, because
Because
children are
people would
filthy.
sneeze and cough and touch her and
Yeah.
put their fucking fingers in the orifices of her
Yeah, your
face.
slimy, snotty fingers in her coffee.
Oh, my
God,
immune
it was
system used
awful.
to be a shit, but then years and years of working with children really brought me up to par.
You know what
because-
actually improved it is I started smoking weed, and I
Hilarious.
almost never get sick now.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't get sick very often, but that's pretty much always been the case. My immune system's always been
I
fairly
used to get sick
strong.
all the time. I would get sick 2 or 3 times a year, just because of shit that would go around the schools.
No. I was like an incubator baby, and then I had asthma for the first few years of my life, and I pretty much grew out of it and was fine from then on.
There you go. You had a tough early childhood. And
I
then
guess.
nothing.
I don't
Yeah,
know
I had
that.
nothing at the beginning, and then I was like,
Yeah.
it's a sickly child.
Sickly child.
I only know what they tell me.
But I'd also push myself. I was a part, swim team. I did seminary, so I'd run on really little sleep, super stressed all the time, because that was what you had to do when you were a working high school religious kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I got sick because I would run on just a couple hours of sleep, and then
That's really
Go
what
to
does
school
it.
stress.
It's the
Yeah.
no rest.
yeah,
that does
Pushing
it.
I had
yourself
zero
to the
immune
brink.
system.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
Fun stuff.
So all of these, the menstruation and the menses and the mene and the moon and all this shit, it's because 29.5 days is what the moon cycle of a month is. That's where you get the full cycle. And then a typical cycle for your period is 28 to 30 days. I say typical,
a
but
day on either side of it.
no, not even a day on either side of it. I say typical because it's fucking, you can do, women go anywhere from they'll have it a week apart to months apart. And any of that
I just
can be
meant
weirdly
based on their
normal.
description.
Yes,
on
but
either
yes,
side of it.
that is exactly the point. And when it's more common, when that is a more regular thing, that's where they got the name, because it was it must be connected to the cycle of the moon. Women's periods come at certain points during these phases. And so women, obviously, with their uteruses, were more in touch with the moon and the tides, because the tides were affected by the thing.
And we're back to witches.
And we're back to witches. So the moon, in a lot of mythology, is named as a goddess,
Yeah.
and it's usually a goddess of fertility.
Luna.
And it's even now, a lot of times full moons are when more kids are born. Weirdly.
And crazy shit happens.
Yeah. So much crazy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And which I don't understand, but also
When the full moon happens in this neighborhood, sirens pop off.
Oh yeah. The last full moon, I was up at 7:30.
the last full moon was like a harvest moon.
It was,
or it was a
blue moon,
Blue
a
moon,
super
yeah.
blue moon or something
Super
like
blue
that.
What was
From
this?
the moment I woke up, sirens.
Damn.
Just at least once an hour, every hour, the whole day.
In North and South America, men feared if they didn't. Okay. In North and South America, men.
Stop ruining everything!
You fucked it up.
Yeah, I fucked it up.
Talking to myself. Okay, I'm beating myself up. In North and South America, men feared if they didn't track women's periods, the universe might descend into chaos.
I'm glad we built that up to here. That was better.
Imagine men thinking that they're the ones preventing the universe descending into chaos!
I'm just saying, maybe that's the reason they didn't want you guys working, because they thought you'd just enslave all of us.
Oh, but, the fact that, they got to go sit in a hut while they were all crampy, I don't love the idea of exile, but
How about peace? Let's remarket it.
Yeah. In contrast
Solitude.
to our modern society where they're like, oh, you're on your period, suck it up, you're fine.
Yeah, fuck you.
Go do your job.
It's like the Midwest attitude towards snow. Get your ass to work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to that for just a second, because we moved away from it real quick, but women die in those things like every year. They die from heat exhaustion. They die from starving. They die from a lot of dehydration. They get assaulted in there, both by the women in there and men, obviously, who come in and beat them to death.
Know that they're in there. Yeah.
And then they get bit by bugs and snakes and all sorts of
Nobody
shit. Like, it is a
cleaning
dangerous.
these?
No, because these are in third world countries where they still have to be
It's
separated.
the shame hut.
It's the shame hut, literally. It's where you
shame
go to
hut.
be dirty and to
Full of
bleed.
dirt and germs. That sounds terrible.
Well, again, these are typically by the masses, less educated populations.
Yep.
So
I want a shame-free, clean hut
yeah, well,
for a week every month with air conditioning.
Wouldn't that be really nice?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's not how it worked. In pre-industrial society, women... pre-industrial society had higher rates of illness and malnutrition. They got fewer and lighter periods through than women today. Yeah.
Is it because of the chemicals in our tampons?
I was just gonna ask if it was because of the chemicals and antibiotics and shit in our food.
I think that's more to do with it. So women back then would have around 150-ish lifetime periods versus women today having about 450.
Fuck's sake.
They'd have their first period later and their first menopause earlier. They'd have more babies in a shorter amount of time and would constantly basically just be baby factories for a while.
Right.
Women now have longer periods where they're longer periods of time where they are menstruating.
Longer periods of periods.
Longer periods of periods, more blood.
Fewer children.
Fewer children. Yeah, typically 2 now.
Interesting.
And a lot of that did have to do, part of it did have to do for sure with like nutritional developments and all of that stuff, and the lack of illness, but a lot of it had to do with like what we were putting in our food as well.
Mm-hmm.
Women would fashion tampons in ancient Egypt from soft papyrus. They used period blood to lift their sagging breasts and skin as an anti-aging. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Or into a bottle and then...
And just save it for later.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, if it's days of blood, like...
Why waste it?
Scoop. Rub.
Scoop and boop.
I'm just
Scoop and boop! Oh, God.
I'm just imagining like an ancient Egyptian woman just emerging from a pool of blood, just completely covered from head to toe,
Yep.
like out of the steps.
Yep.
As you should be.
Ancient tampons were made out of lint and lamb's wool. They were wrapped around small sticks.
Oh, yeah, I probably got some lint in here if you want it.
You what?
No,
Is that
thank
a-
you. I don't need it for another
Belly
9
button
days.
tampon.
Yeah.
They would also use like sea sponges.
Oh.
Stuff those up there. In Japan, they'd roll paper in like the 6th or 7th century. They'd roll paper and then use like bandages to hold that in place right under their crotch. Fibers, grass, buffalo skin, all of these things were used as tampons.
Interesting.
Sikhs taught that menstruation was a God-given blessing, and that was the thing that was required for the creation of life, and so they were really respectful of it.
You know, Sikhs are really cool.
Sikhs are really fucking cool. And that was like from the guy that created Sikhism, was like, no man, like they're creating babies.
That's amazing.
It's pretty neat.
I love that.
Buddhists did kind of the same thing, but they didn't force women to like bow or kneel or anything when they were on their periods because of discomfort.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Women all over the world would kind of use this because, you know, they were treated as less than, especially when they were on their periods. They used it as like a little mini vacation. So like, okay, if you're going to treat me like I'm dirty, I'm just not going to labor for you. I'm not going to cook for you. I'm not going to clean. I'll go into this little menstruation hut, but that gives me a fucking week off.
You're on your own, bitch.
Yep. Yeah, so they would use it to, like, visit with their friends, other women. They'd get out of chores.
And then you all sync up with each other, and then you all get out of chores at the same time.
Which is a myth,
Whoa.
but also it's something that,
Is it?
I mean, the pattern itself, there's no physical evidence, but
I mean,
you tell me that has never happened to you, because it's absolutely happened to me.
It's definitely happened to me.
Yeah.
it's happened to a lot of people I know. I spent a lot of time around like college athletes, all
Yeah.
people on the same team, 10 of them.
Girls'
all at the
dorms
same
are
time.
the worst.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
the entire floor.
Yep. The whole fucking floor, yeah.
There may not be physical evidence, but there is anecdotal evidence that
Out the
will.
what?
Yeah.
See, Cleveland Clinic says that it doesn't happen.
Well, it's fucking Cleveland. What do they know?
They are in Ohio. They did do that balloon thing in
I
the
don't
80s.
trust anything that comes out of Ohio.
All right, so in the mid-17th century, men basically took over as doctors. They replaced women as, like, midwives and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, we're going to take care of the women now. Let me look at your parts. Lift up that skirt for me, please. And women didn't have underwear for a really long time. They wore dresses, and so they would just, like, bleed onto their legs. Some people would figure out how to, like, make themselves little baby diapers and nappies and stuff, or, you know, literally just shove rags up there. But a lot of women, especially with the petticoats and shit, that would just bleed all over themselves. Which is not great.
Casual.
Yeah, because...
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah, and especially back when cloth is, like, actually expensive and really hard to get your hands on, or you have to make it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna have to clean this anyway. Anyway, so mid-17th century men took over as doctors, they pushed away the midwives, and then they just didn't ask questions to the women about the women. They
Nothing's
made a lot of
changed.
assumptions about their bodies and the way that they worked. They didn't take any information from the women or the midwives that were trying to say, hey, you're fucking that up, don't do that.
This sounds like every male doctor I've ever been to.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Me telling them my medical history and diagnoses, and they're like,
No.
no, you're actually wrong about that. You mean this. And I'm like,
No,
no, I don't.
Took 4 doctors and a couple misdiagnoses to get to this point, and
Why did you ask me my medical history if you were going to tell it to me?
yeah, you're just gonna tell me I'm wrong.
Hmm.
Do you have Kellogg cereal in your house?
No,
We don't really buy a lot of cereal.
I'm a granola lady.
Apparently, Kellogg believed that women needed to rest completely during their periods. Like, you need to just be on your little fainting couch, you need a break for a week.
Past tense, though, because I doubt they're doing that for their employees right now.
Oh, I don't think so, because Kellogg was famously a nut. So,
Okay.
the Hoosier sanitary belt was invented in the late 1800s, and that stayed pretty much the only marketed thing until the 1970s.
Wow.
1970s.
Like, almost 100 years with no improvements.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
In World War I, when nurses noticed that there was this super absorbent material, cotton thing that they could just pull and stick in bullet wounds, they started sticking it up their vaginas and using it as tampons.
Good for you, ladies.
And around the same time, the first menstrual cup was invented.
Whoa, we love a good menstrual cup.
Yep. But both failed because basically, if those things are inside of you, it's obviously fucking you, and it just makes you super impure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely.
You mean failed in the philosophical religious sense?
Yes. You're a failed woman
Uh-huh.
if you put something inside of you to keep yourself from bleeding out. So
Any woman who's inserted a menstrual cup knows exactly
it's
how
so
arousing
sexy.
it is.
Oh my god, it's the sexiest thing.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to very actively try to relax yourself because you're trying to shove.
And you know,
a piece
taking
of
it out
plastic
is
inside.
even sexier.
Oh, I know. I read a blog entry one time about somebody trying to like claw theirs out with their little like raccoon hands just because she couldn't unclench enough to let it pop.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Which is a whole thing. You gotta unclench. It's a
you gotta unclench.
Oof.
If you have an IUD, you gotta break the seal so that you don't rip your IUD
oh
out.
my god. It's
That's important.
you know what? We're gonna get there.
Okay.
Both of these things failed because again, if it's inside you, it's fucking you. So it was these things were marketed to married women.
Who were allowed to
Already had things inside of them, so it didn't matter anymore.
Right.
Their virtue had already been sullied by their husbands, so they could have tampons and
yes,
menstrual
virtue.
cups. Yes, virtue. Everyone else had those nice big pads.
I thought you were going
the
to say nice
belts.
big virtues.
everybody else got to sit in their own blood all day in a nice glorified diaper.
In a nice diaper, yeah. Love a good adult diaper. That was absolutely what I was given the first few times.
Well, yeah, tampons are for whores, so.
And I went through my first one in early 2000s, and that was literally still what was told to me. So,
same.
this never went away. It's not like it's not like we're far away from this.
Oh,
I remember-
Christianity, religion, so many fun things
So great.
that they tell us about our bodies.
When I was in high school, my uncle, who was handicapped that we lived with and took care of, he had these aides that would come in, and one of them one time went upstairs into our bathroom and just used the bathroom like a fucking normal person.
Yeah.
But I think she threw her tampon away in there.
Yeah.
And when my mom came home, she had a fucking meltdown because she thought we had like girls over. She's like, well, I know it's not mine. She went on a fucking
Yeah,
tirade.
because she went through her menopause already.
Well, she also, her main argument was that she uses pads.
She's not a whore.
She's not a whore.
Exactly. The Catholic in her would never. But also, I don't need to know. And me saying no, there were no girls up here should have been enough.
Yeah, but that's not how it works in that type of a household. You know that. Annika knows that. I know that. Did our parents believe
It's not
us? Some more
possible
shit?
to
Nah.
you, maybe, that the other adult women who come into this house multiple times a week may have left it behind, maybe?
Maybe.
Detective?
Maybe. All right, so all of this is to say women are dirty.
Bunch of whores.
And we're a bunch of whores, yeah. Now we're going to get into the fun stuff.
Whores.
Now what we do know
Oh,
about...
not whores, okay.
Now what we do know about women has developed.
Whoa.
Drawing.
Nice slopes.
What?
Slopes.
I am not an artist, but I drew pictures. We are going to go into, we're going to play a little bit of a show and tell, so this is probably going to be a little bit noisy. All right, so what do you know about this? What can you point out to me?
Well, it's not supposed to be blue, but it is.
This is all colored differently for
I don't
pointing
know.
out.
It looks like she's taking gamma radiation straight to the ovaries.
Does he get like a word list to choose from, perhaps?
No, I want to see. I want you to blindly, I want you to tell me blindly what it is that you can label.
Damn. That's...
This looks like it's probably the cervix, and I think these are ovaries and fallopian tubes here.
Yeah.
And is that a uterus in the middle there?
Yes, it is.
All right, then.
Yep.
Well, I think I win.
All right, cool.
Wow.
Obviously, this is the
canal.
The canal. It's the vaginal canal. Yeah.
I know stuff.
Proud of you.
Nice.
All right. Down here.
Well, that's just more anatomy
Yeah.
of other organs.
Yep.
Is that a liver?
Nope.
No.
Is it a bladder?
No. Look. What's this?
Looks like a bunch of bones.
Yeah.
A tailbone, maybe?
Yeah, a spine.
Okay.
Yeah,
So what
so-
comes right under the what's right by the spine?
Tailbone's here.
Well, kidneys are by the spine, but that's huge. Is that your... What?
Just follow where this would be.
Is this...
That's the birthday hole.
No, it's just that the proportions are off. I don't know what's supposed
It
to be
grows.
where.
It gets big. Yeah. Yes, and it is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but
the
I, like,
proportions
is
are
this
off
a
'cause
butt
I'm not
cheek?
an
Is that a
artist.
butt cheek?
No,
That's-
I don't know.
That's what
I
I'm
got
saying.
nothing. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
don't
not
be,
a good
don't be
artist.
sorry. I'm just trying to guess.
Definitely an interestingly shaped person.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm not trying to be fucking ableist or,
Nope.
you know,
I just
body
fucked it
shame
up.
anyone.
Yeah. But that's the
So yeah,
pooper.
no,
That's
that's why it's brown, I think.
Yep.
That was...
tried to make that
conscious
the
choice.
culo. I get it. Yeah.
the culo. All right. So what's this guy?
That looks like everything we just mentioned.
Yep.
Being the ovaries and fallopian tubes and uterus and vaginal canal.
Yep. And this is
It's either the bladder or the gut.
it's the bladder. What is down here?
Looks like a clit.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god, and he knows where it is.
He sure does.
It's not
Good
a
job.
mystery. I
Congrats.
have eyes.
Ah, I'm so proud of you. Oh my goodness.
They work better up close, but I do have them.
Wow.
What a way to end.
All right, so very quickly,
Send you off your meeting
when
in a tizzy.
you ovulate, all of this, basically, every egg that you ever have is born right on here whenever the baby comes out.
I love
and
peppered eggs.
it takes them a really long time to develop. Basically, we're developing from the moment we're born. And most of these, before we hit puberty, because we don't have the hormones that are releasing, they hit a self-destruct button, and so nothing happens.
Yeah, no, you're born with the eggs that you have. And
Yeah.
You got them forever, and when you're out, you're out.
And there's like a certain way that basically all the genetic material in your eggs is like present when your grandma is pregnant with your mom, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy early.
Wicked.
Yeah. So,
It's pretty insane.
all of them are there. They'll slowly develop. Like I said, the ones that develop before they hit puberty, they hit the self-destruct button. When your brain develops enough to start releasing the different hormones.
It's like exception.
FSH and LSH.
Yes.
Follicle stimulating hormone and what? Luteinizing.
Yes.
LSH. Is it stimulating hormone also? Hold on. I gotta at least be right. Oh, it's just LH. So it's FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and luteinizing hormone, LH. Wow. Mm-hmm. Oh, we get a chart.
Yeah. Well, okay.
This is a very fast graph that you just
That
drew.
was.
What's
And
also something that they like. It's pretty.
It's in your brain.
It's
burned in there.
you've had a bunch of periods and you have to learn this a lot. Yeah, you've been surprisingly cool about this.
Like I said,
when I was
I'm
talking
not
to Gary
a
about
fucking child.
it, when I was talking to Gary about it, like he was cool too. But also, some of the stuff we will get into definitely got him.
Yeah, anatomy doesn't bother me. It never has. Like watching surgeries and all that kind of shit. Bloody dick from period sex doesn't bother me. I don't care. Like, it just doesn't. Sex is gross regardless.
Yep.
Fluids are fluids.
If you're doing it right, it's gross regardless.
That's what I'm saying. Like, doing it well, it's still gross.
Yeah.
Like, just embrace it or don't.
Crappy sex can be clean, but no, if it's good.
Well, even good sex can be clean, but you're still exchanging fluids. Like,
Yeah.
at its core, it's a gross kind of a thing.
Yep.
And back then, it was way grosser, and I'm
Yep.
glad that we have the hygiene that we have now.
Oh, for sure.
But, like, that being said, it's like, oh, I can take a shower, and then everything's fine.
Yeah.
It's literally not a big deal.
Yeah.
Thanks, indoor plumbing.
It's gonna be big.
It's huge.
It is. It's fucking big.
Yeah.
It turned out really well.
It's increased our life expectancy.
Yes.
By quite a bit.
By a lot. Thanks, modern medicine.
All this is staying in the episode.
Okay.
A peek into our lives. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, this is a mini one anyway. Like, we're not gonna be too official about it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The one we'll record this afternoon. We'll actually have like a...
Got you.
Which also, I think you're gonna fucking love. Very
I'm sure.
excited to
I love
talk.
all the episodes. I'm, like, hesitant to pass out, like, the link to some of my family members, because I can't remember who I've bashed or not. I don't want to hear about it later.
We don't name drop, really.
I mean, no. I've said... I literally will never give my mom the link. I don't think that she'd listen to it anyway. But, like, I've talked so much shit alone about my mom, she'd be like, yeah, I guess I know how you really feel about me.
Oh, I love my mom to death, and she'll listen to a few episodes here and there, but I don't think she'll ever be like a regular listener because she doesn't like hearing me cuss.
No,
And this
I
is
love
not
my mom,
exactly
too.
a kid-friendly
Yeah,
show in that regard.
For sure. And my mom will say things like that, and then in the same breath will say fuck. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
No, my mom definitely cusses, but she doesn't like to say that she cusses. So.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
A little imposter syndrome.
Yeah, a
These-
little
these
bit.
innocent old ladies who aren't so, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's ridiculous. We just, my mother and I are two very different people.
Yeah.
That's all.
My mom and I are very, very similar, but on the opposite sides of the coin, and I think that gives her a lot of tension because there's a lot of stuff that I feel like she might do differently if she weren't in the church still.
Yeah, sure. My mom doesn't go to church anymore, but she still has those old Catholic values.
I was very proud of her. They went to, they did a tour of the UK. They finally met her, like, biological siblings that are over in the UK.
Nice.
The 3 that were born within a few months of each other, because she's got a
Papa was a
randy
Rolling
dandy.
Stone.
Oh, Papa was a Rolling Stone. Oh yeah. And I love that like she's just fine with that because he's been dead, so she didn't even have a chance.
You're not gonna
Like,
change it.
Yeah, what do you
do about it?
now? Like,
Yeah.
no, she's got just a bunch of siblings. And apparently, like, one of them, it's like their earliest memory is the mom chasing this guy around with like a frying pan because she found out about the other kids.
Woof.
Yeah. Like, way traumatic, but also funny stories later in life. I don't know.
Yeah, see, your story is she chased him with a frying pan. My story is she actually hit him with
She
a
got
frying
him.
pan.
Yeah.
She got him good.
She got him good.
Yeah, that's the most of the difference in my family. They actually do the crazy shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, are we ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let us resume.
All right, so we've gone over the basic anatomy, and we have labeled all of the basic things. Now let's talk real fun. We got into ovulation. So once a month, as you...
These ovulating rays.
No, I will get into that, actually. No, but it is color-coded, so the yellow and the yellow and the yellow are all related. I am not a good artist, but I did try to be...
No, it's funny. It just looks like it's like radiating. It's humming, for sure.
Yeah.
If you do it right.
If you know what you're doing.
That's right.
Anyway, all right, so when you start going through puberty, your brain starts releasing the different hormones that basically allow your ovaries to start developing the secondary oocytes, which are like the little eggs that are growing on it.
Okay.
And I mean, they're all like, it just looks like a million tiny little fucking blobs. When they start developing and they have that hormone, eventually it will pop off of that ovum. And then it just floats for a little while, like in the middle of nowhere. And these little fingers, which are called fembrae from the fallopian tubes. Hold on, I actually have notes on this one.
I know I learned all this in middle school and high school, but it's been a minute since I had a formal...
Yeah, I'm trying. That's why I'm like, you know what? This is going to be good. Since if we're going to learn about women and women's rights and shit, we should probably know the anatomy, and let's really get into the gross stuff.
Yeah, although if I'm being honest, our sex ed teacher in high school was the health teacher, and he really just told us stories about his friend, quote unquote, that was getting all these wild diseases in weird ways.
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah, very much a Mean Girls. Like, if you have sex, you will get chlamydia and you will die.
Yeah.
Take a condom.
Got like fucking, what's it, crabs? Did somebody get crabs from a couch? Yeah, all kinds of, got chlamydia in his eye.
Disgusting.
Like, all wild. Just
Ugh.
like, yeah, this happened to my friend. Sure it did, bro.
You sure did.
Uh-huh.
No, ours was like the health, and he was the athletic director, the health coach, or like the health teacher, like the sex ed teacher, the driving instructor, and also an assistant coach for football. He was just an old guy.
This guy was also a swim coach and driving instructor.
Yeah, had absolutely no business being around kids.
And he was a great guy. He was a whole...
This dude was a creep. He had no business being around
Hilarious.
kids. He was a drinker. Literally, my senior prank was like, I got into his office and just poured his bourbon all over his office, and it smelled like bourbon.
It's crazy that he even had booze at school.
All the time. It was in his drawer. Everyone knew.
That's absolutely insane. No, this guy
for
would
a
never,
long time.
This guy was like super in shape, was like very like clean cut, shaving every day, like very buttoned up.
Yep.
If you're listening.
He reformed himself because he got all the chlamydia.
I don't know. I never believed you when you told us that, bro, but the dark shark, he's out there. Bernardo.
All right, so these are these little fingers are called the fembrae of the fallopian tubes, and so when the hormones are right, I guess when the levels are right, the ovum, the secondary oocyte, detaches from the ovum. A lot of times women can feel this. Some people describe it as like a pinch. Some people, like Annika and I, have ridiculous cramps. There will be like a very intense cramp for probably anywhere between 30 seconds to like 2 minutes.
I don't know that I've
detaching.
ever even really known a woman that doesn't get intense cramps at some point.
Some women don't feel it at all.
No,
My
I'm
mom
sure
said,
they exist.
Yeah.
I just don't know any.
and yeah, some people don't feel it. Some people feel it like crazy. My mom always, because she loves to tell me the story of the fact that I was very planned. She got on naval insurance. She felt herself ovulate as a pinch. She kicked my dad under the table. They fucked, and I was there.
Good Lord.
Like, she loves to tell this story. Yeah.
Your mom's horny.
My mom was horrible. Okay, my dad is a very handsome guy, so I completely understand. They were a very cute little couple.
Good for them.
They found a picture, I guess, of them, like, a few of their college buddies had, like, one that they didn't think about, or they hadn't seen in a long time, and they didn't know existed, and so they found this cute little photo of them, like, back when they were dating.
Nice.
It's like, oh, you're just little...
A sweet picture.
Pretty 19-year-olds, aw.
That was about to be blackmail.
No, God, no. So...
It's your dad in a gimp suit.
I'll show you later. It's pretty cute. All right, so the hormones get ripe, the oocyte detaches, it floats out in the ether. Basically, there's just kind of this empty space, and it gets filled up with
Is this all the empty space?
No, that is actually part of the uterus. All of this is the empty space in what we're seeing. Right here, all of this is the empty space. So laterally, the ovum, I kind of put the little arrow because it'll sit actually right here and it'll sit around kind of to the side. But it will literally just float out in the middle of nowhere. And the job of the little fembrae is to stiffen up and catch that before it gets somewhere else in the body.
Interesting.
Lest it detach to a different organ. They stiffen and then they sweep across that ovum, so they're touching it when they go back.
Oh, this one's a little bit bigger than the other one.
Yeah, because and you know what? That's on purpose. I'm gonna say, because ovums are different sizes. Everyone has a good, everyone has bigger and smaller, and some people have one, and some people have none.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't have any.
So the fembrae are connected to a stalk called the infundibulum, where the fembrae dangle off of. It's like the hand, and then the arm right here is called the ampullum, which is kind of a more dilated portion. It kind of comes in, and that's where the fertilization occurs. Usually, like, that's when sperm comes in, they come up through here, they kind of go through here, and this is around the area where they're supposed to meet and do the thing. Everyone knows, like, the process of the little sperm going doot and, like, wiggling in. That happens right around here. And that's called the ampullum. So pretty much every month when this happens, let's just assume that it's not happening. So the way that this whole thing works is this is all a muscle. All of this blue is muscles. And you can control these outer muscles, and you really can't control these inner muscles, but they're still working. And every month, your womb is literally kind of preparing itself. So it will build up little layers of like blood with a lot of nutrients in it, and basically a lot of vitamins and that kind of shit.
In preparation for an egg. So this egg pops off. We hope that the with the little fembrae catch it. It comes through the tube. It works its way through slowly but surely, because all of these little squiggles right here, those are all little, like, fingers that kind of brush it through. Almost like in your throat where you've got, fingers that kind of brush down. This brushes it in. So it comes in here and it lodges somewhere in here. And if it is fertilized, by the time it gets here, it's a little, it's got like 32, 64, whatever. It's starting to actually kind of develop. And so it can lodge and actually kind of wiggle in and do its thing because it's alive. If it's not, then it'll just sit and it'll start to rot. It over ripens, as it were. And it gets rotten. And so when that happens and there's no fertilization, basically this becomes a place where you can't house anything anymore, so it has to eject.
This is the lining of the uterine wall. That's kind of the levels here. So it at the beginning of we're just going to go with a month. So let's assume that this is a 30-day cycle, and it starts on the 1st. So on the 1st, you've finished your period, and for a few days, you've kind of got you've got zero lining in your uterine wall. Your hormone levels are coming down. You've got your FSH levels and your LH levels or whatever. It's two different hormones. I don't fucking know because I didn't write it down. But they both drop, and they'll drop for about 5 to 10 days. And then that oocyte peaks and it pops off right here. And so that's when these spikes happen with the hormones, and then they will start dropping down. So if they stay, if this gets fertilized, they stay up here. And they'll keep building, because basically when you get pregnant, your hormones like exponentially grow every few days.
Well, you gotta IV drip those hormones into that baby.
Absolutely you do. But when that doesn't happen, they drop again. But in the meantime, you've still got this uterine wall that's slowly building up, and now it's building up more. And once the ovum gets here into the uterine wall, and it realizes it starts rotting, and these hormones drop, well, the hormone drop triggers a blood drop, which is basically ejecting the rotten, unripe egg, and it squirts it out.
Squirts it out.
It doesn't actually squirt it out, but it does release it. It ejects it. Women have absolutely no control over the flow of this, over the content, over the shape or color or smell or fucking anything that comes out of them during this period.
Interesting.
It's literally your uterus is doing all of the talking and you do nothing.
It's a free-for-all.
Now that we're talking about uteri and doing periods, this is a muscle, like I said, all of that. So when your uterus decides it has to eject and all of those hormones are pumping into your system so that you can get rid of that blood, this starts to twist and convulse. And so it's like literally slowly wringing itself out as a muscle. And it will twist and hurt and wring itself out until that blood detaches and ejects itself. And it will keep doing that until all of it is out. Which is why women usually report that they have their worst cramps the first 2 to 3 days of their period, because that's when the most active cramping and ejecting is occurring. That's also when usually the heaviest flow happens.
Wow.
Yeah. Over the next few days, you'll get lesser cramps and lesser bleeding, because that's basically kicking the leftovers out.
So should I start taking birth control? Or?
Yeah, if you want to have a regulated period, for sure. There's multiple forms, but basically it kicks out the egg. A lot of times women, they'll, I don't know if other women do this, but like I'll examine it because I kind of want to figure out what's coming out of me, right? And so sometimes like you can see it. You can kind of see what formed in like the little goop that was supposed to be a little baby. And I read this years ago, but basically it's like this analogy of your uterus is building this little house, and it's like it's putting up curtains, and it's putting up lamps, and it's like decorating, got a little rug and a little crib, and it's like getting ready for its little baby. It's super excited, and it's like, okay. And then when the egg gets there and it turns out to be rotten, it's like, fuck this, and it just rages, and it just throws furniture and breaks shit and like smashes windows and has like a class A temper tantrum for a few days. And then it starts building itself back up again. It starts rebuilding the furniture and putting back up the windows. And that's like literally the whole pattern.
Sounds a little bipolar.
It literally is. Ask any woman. A uterus is as bipolar as it gets.
All right. Well, I'll pass, Doc.
Yeah.
I don't want my uterus anymore.
All right. So since we talked about it, forms of birth control. Obviously, there's the pill, which controls the levels of hormones that we were talking about that build up and release in your system.
Patch, the IUD, the fucking one that goes under the skin.
Yep, the little implant, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. There's the ring.
Yeah.
The NuvaRing. Oh, I fucking hated that. I gained 70 pounds in like 6 months on NuvaRing. It was terrifying. And I was a crazy bitch.
I the first time I ever heard, I think I saw like a commercial for a NuvaRing when I was a kid, like on TV. And
And then John Mulaney had like a really famous bit talking about like being at a party, and it's like when you don't drink, people they don't know what to offer you at a party. They're like, you want this old NuvaRing my girlfriend left in the fridge? Every time I hear the word NuvaRing, that's all I think about is that John Mulaney bit.
Yeah. Fuck. Anyway, so there's the NuvaRing, which will sit up, and the whole goal is for it to like get up and sit right here at the top of the vaginal canal. What ends up happening usually is that instead it sits right around here, and as you have sex, it just kind of rubs up, and it kind of becomes this weird little like Pringle shaped thing, just off to the side, and then it falls out, and it's a whole fucking mess. IUDs go right up here, and they just sit right here.
Yeah, they sure do.
And that's fucking painful. So the T of it actually sits like right inside your uterus. The most narrow part of the whole thing, you've got a little stick in there, and it's just supposed to sit in the muscles.
I've experienced them. I've felt them.
Yep. You felt the strings, and
Yeah.
those dangle down, and usually those are like probably 2 to 3 inches.
Yeah.
This sits way up higher, and they're usually super short. So, personal story, because this is also going to go into, we're going to talk about exams.
Lauren's going to talk about her vagina.
We're going to talk about the vagina. So, we're going to talk about pap smears.
Ah, yes.
Ah, yes.
Where they shove the spatula up your vagina.
And I say this because literally the last time I got my IUD changed, it was like, you know what? We're down here. We're scheduled for it. You're going to have one soon anyway. Why don't we just do it?
Yep.
So, the process of removing a IUD is fairly simple. They stick a straw up, they put those strings through, they yank it.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks. It basically is just shoot, and it pulls out of your muscles that have now formed around it for years.
Yeah.
It is horrifying and painful and all that. But then they have to do exactly the opposite to put another one in. But between that, especially if you're getting a pap smear, what a pap smear is, they are measuring your uterus. They will test chemicals inside of your uterine wall in your cervix.
Sure,
to make
your
sure
pH balance and all that
yep,
shit.
all of that. Make sure that all of that is good and proper. Do you know what a speculum is?
I've heard the word before, but I can't say that I could accurately give you the description of it.
All right, so think
of... Is it a tool?
It is a tool.
Is it the thing that opens you up?
It is the thing that opens you up.
I do know what it is.
Okay. So if you think of like a hollowed out hot dog shape, and then you split that in half, and you turn that into a crank that opens up.
It's like a clamshell opener.
It literally is a clamshell opener, but for lady clams, human clams.
That's what.
Yep. But it doesn't open vertically parallel to this. It doesn't go kick kick kick. It opens wide, like a duckbill is opening his little quacker right inside of you.
Oh, I've heard this.
So
the majority of the women that I have been with have IUDs, so I've heard this from all of them.
It's fucking awful.
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
So, another very basic thing about sex, if you don't know, a lot of foreplay is involved because vaginas are part of the uterine muscle, the whole
and also,
thing.
Like, copper doesn't belong in your vag.
Yeah, no, it's like discharges weird.
It's not really.
When you are having sex, you gotta have foreplay so that you can relax those muscles enough to be able to like stretch out and that kind of shit. Vaginas aren't normally open enough to be able to fit clamps inside, much less have them stretched open.
Yeah, sure.
So it is not a comfortable experience, and especially when it is a cold metal thing going right up your hooch.
Porn.
Yeah. It's just not great. Anyway, speculum porn is a thing. I'm not a huge fan.
I wasn't even talking about speculum. There's this weird alien thing, whatever.
Ah, yes. The alien porn. Yeah. Got it. Why didn't I think of that immediately?
Tentacles.
Octopus porn, obviously.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah. And if you've been to like a sex shop, because this is an adult podcast sometimes, they have like tentacle dildos.
Yeah, bad dragons.
Yeah, okay, so I'm not speaking to a child then.
No.
I don't have to put on airs here. All right,
duh.
Great.
Yeah.
So for all you virgins out there listening,
get yourself a tentacled dildo
They make
and
big,
figure out what
they
an
make
orgasm
big,
is.
Scary dildos,
Yeah.
bigger than any dick you could possibly imagine.
Yeah. You don't need a boyfriend, you need a dildo. That's,
No, men are obsolete.
yeah, for real.
You need us to read shit off the shelf for you. That's about it.
Okay, so they open you up with this duck-billed speculum thing into a muscle that doesn't actually want to be open when it's not highly aroused, and so it's very painful. It is stretching a muscle that you have zero, like, the only control you have over it is how closed it can be, and now it is being forced open.
It'd be like forcing your jaw open past the point that it naturally opens. It's the same kind of situation.
Or if someone stuck something up your ass and then just kept cranking it open, you know?
Yeah.
Not fun.
No.
It's just not fun. But they don't stop there. They have to measure the swab the cervix, so everyone knows you go in and you swab and you swab and you swab right at the head of the cervix to make sure that all of the pH is there.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do more.
Whoa.
Especially when there's nothing between the cervix and the uterus. Sometimes they measure that uterus, which means that they have to take a ruler and they push it through the cervix and they push it up through the uterus and then they push it up into the edge of the uterus. And by the edge,
else are
I
you
mean the
supposed
top
to know how
of the-
long it is?
the top of the fucking uterus. And you're just supposed to sit there and...
Well, we're already here. We've got her open. Let's measure it. We didn't come this far. It's ridiculous.
Yes. But yeah, they will stick something way up in you, and meanwhile, this is like wildly cramping because it doesn't want to have a
sounds
giant
like a
metal
bitch.
thing inside of it, and it doesn't want to have a ruler going through the narrowest portion of it that is never supposed to let anything bigger than a fucking sperm through.
I know that it's a simple procedure, but it sounds so like sci-fi.
It is. It's very sci-fi, and it's terrifying, and it feels sci-fi, and it's a giant violation every time. And women have to do this for their health.
I know this. And listen, I'm real grateful.
Yeah.
Because nobody likes a condom.
What?
I said nobody likes a condom.
Yeah. So, that is a pap smear. They measure you, they check your things, and then they do swabs, and then they finally let go. And they're like, cool, you can go now. When you get an IUD put in, they don't do that. They stick a straw up your vagina again,
Yep.
put it right back. They keep that speculum in there. They stick that straw right up the cervix again, and then shove another T-shaped thing to go into your uterus. And the idea for the T is basically to disrupt any actual building of that vaginal wall.
Right.
That will agitate it enough, which is why it's right inside the uterus, is because it bugs it. And so a lot of women...
Keeps it from performing naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot
the
of
other
women...
one's made out of plastic? Yeah.
Yep. And it has like little
shorter
hormones.
life, yeah.
It has shorter lifespans, but it has hormones inside of it. And basically the whole job is to agitate it, and for people that have the hormonal one, it's very, very low dose of hormones consistently over like 3 or 5 or whatever years.
Yeah, 7 even. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had my last one for 7 years, and
crazy.
And by the end it wasn't really releasing any hormones, but it was still doing
disrupting.
Yeah, still disrupting that vaginal wall. It's incredibly painful when you have these little prongs just like poked right inside of you in a muscle that's already cramping and does not want anything inside of it. And so it is very common for women to have intense cramps for days afterwards.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Since we're there.
I've been around for the implantation of an IUD and the several days after. I've been a witness.
So let's talk about why that is so all-encompassing, because it's not just that muscle or that organ that ends up hurting when this type of thing happens.
Sure.
When some sort of trauma happens to the uterus, or even when it is having cramps and periods, this thing is a whole thing that moves. But it is floating in midair, basically inside of you.
Right.
And it has to be anchored somehow, which is how we get the idea that, like, if the uterus rises, you'll get sick, and if it drops, you die. It's because it's just fucking floating, and we're just hoping that it stays, right?
Just surrounded by fluid and other organs.
Exactly.
Right.
So all of this yellow here, these are ligaments. Over here we've got this is the ovarian ligament that is attached to the uterus itself. This radiation looking shit.
The gamma rays.
Yes, the gamma rays. That's called the broad ligament. That's basically the thing that kind of is like in front of your belly.
So it's similar to the diaphragm.
Yes. So this anchors it. Hold on. I have that in my notes. Where's my notes? Okay. So there's the ovarian ligament. The broad ligament is a lateral anchor, which is made up of the meso-ovarian ligaments and the suspensory ligaments. So I think this one right here and right here. Mm-hmm. The round ligament, right? I think this is maybe the broad one. This is the uterosacral ligament. Basically, it anchors and posteriorly, and the round ligament anchors anteriorly. Basically, this is these are the things that keep it kind of floating in midair. Mm-hmm. When your uterus is contracting, and when it's moving, and when it's growing, and when it's pitching a fucking fit, all of these get pulled. So when it's an organ that is cramping, it's not just this organ that's cramping. It's this organ and multiple ligaments that are attached to other parts of your body and other nerves that pull on it as well. So when women get cramps, it's because this thing is disrupting everything around that belly button area.
Have you seen Talladega Nights?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Every time I see this diagram, I just want to go, you got a lumpy butt.
I drew that and I was like, that is the worst backside.
Hank Hill ass.
That was the first line I drew, and then I was like, that is super bad. I didn't even want that to be the front. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. That's going to be the ass, and it's going to be horrible. And I knew you were going to say something.
It's flat Hank Hill ass. You should use a projector and just like trace stuff. That's what I always
actually
do.
have a projector. I should have done that.
You can use your iPad too. If you use like regular paper, it transfers really well.
I don't give enough of a fuck. I drew this right before the header was taken, and I had every intention of like labeling these a little bit more.
I just use it to help me get like the basic guidelines for everything, and then I'll just go back in and go from there.
That's fair.
That way I just have like an idea of where everything goes.
Anyway, so there's the clitoral hole, the urethral hole, the vaginal hole, obviously, and then the pooper.
All the holes.
Yep. There is a little
good bunch of holes.
There's a little gland over here that I didn't say. I couldn't draw because I couldn't figure out where exactly it sits, but I think it's like right between here. Mm-hmm. But that's called the Skene's gland.
Sure.
So when you were intimate, if a woman is having a real good time and everything all of a sudden becomes very, very wet, it's because you hit that Skene's gland and you just went for it.
Listen,
yes.
I don't want to talk about school. I'm not wanting to kiss and tell, but I've been damp before.
Sullied a few beds in your life?
Yeah.
Yep.
The same one a few times.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Woo!
So glad she wasn't here for
that. Okay. I think this is plenty long enough. So we went over the basics. We can do way more like details and about, history of birth control or history of whatever.
Well, that concludes this episode of Historical Vaginas.
Yeah. Historical and misillustrated vaginas. Woo! Anyway.
Well.
Yeah.
Tune in next time.
If you listen to us, you already know where to find us. This has been a fucking podcast.
See ya!
Bye!